What's up, guys? Welcome back to Man-Made Thoughts. My name is Quatez, and this is Superman, the last son of Krypton trade paperback. Um, the first story is pretty good, but I did not buy it for that. I got it because where I get my books from, Superman Brainiac, was really expensive for what I was getting. So I figured I'd get this because it actually collects Superman Brainiac and the last son of Krypton. Both are good stories, but Brainiac, oh my gosh, Superman Brainiac is probably one of the best stories I've ever read in a comic book, period. I mean, it has my favorite scene of all time in a comic book. I don't know, man. It's just, I didn't start liking Superman until I read Superman Brainiac. Then I was like, oh my gosh, this is how Superman should be written. This is how villains, this is a standard where villains should be written at. That's your cover right there. I was just starting from somewhere else because I didn't want you to think that this was part of Superman Brainiac, except some of the elements from this story carry over into here, such as Brainiac. They're talking about some of the incursions that happened on Krypton and how Zod and his merry band of goons were trying to stop it from happening. They were there when Brainiac took Kandor, and so was Supergirl, and she got sent. This is a very Terminator intro. Like literally, this is how John Connor looked in the beginning of Terminator 2. But basically that's Zod and Ursa, and they're encountering Brainiac for the first time, and no one knows what this is. They've never seen anything like it, and so what happens is Brainiac ends up taking the city of Kandor and everything. Good, nice setup. So anyway, I love when comics just start off with like a slice of life. This is what they're doing. Lois and Clark and everybody, they're meeting their new employees and all this stuff around the office and stuff, and they're just talking. Action doesn't really start. You get some nice witty banter going through and stuff, and it's like, hey, this is a job for Superman, and a comet blows up something in space, so Superman's like, I'm going to my other job. And this is a very important scene right here because this is where Paul Kent in the Brainiac storyline, he actually dies, and that whole issue is so powerful to me because my dad actually died, and it's kind of a weird feeling if you've never lost your parent. It's a weird feeling to try to describe to somebody who doesn't know that pain, and I feel like that issue gets it right. But anyway, so he catches one of the Brainiac bots. He instantly knows it's Brainiac. They get into a fight and everything, and he shows it to Kara, his cousin, Supergirl, and she has PTSD because she remembers when she was little that Brainiac destroyed, he destroyed Krypton. She watched it in front of her eyes and remember that she's always been older than him. When Jor-El sent Kal-El, which is Superman, sent him away, she was sent to keep an eye on him, but something happened. She got caught up in space, and he ended up having to protect her. So she feels bad about that, and I really like this piece of dialogue right here. She says, sometimes I wish I didn't have any memories of Krypton. Maybe then I'd be like you. Maybe then I wouldn't miss it so much, because Superman's whole thing is he's an outsider. He chooses to live among humans, and that's his preferred place to be. But when he sees somebody from Krypton, he's like, oh man, there's somebody out there that's like me. It's like Tarzan, where, he's strangers like me. He's never seen humans in the jungle before. So when he sees them, he's like, man, there's other people that look like me, a man cub. And so Kara's whole thing is, no, I grew up there. You're just getting there. You're trying to adopt our technology, and you're trying to subscribe to all this stuff, but I grew up where you're trying to get to. I've seen it. So when it blew up and I saw that bad stuff happen, I felt bad. you just feel it. You feel bad because you never knew it, but I feel bad because I knew it and it hurt. You know, and that's why he looks like that. Because he's like, man, she's got a point. I feel bad, but I don't feel as bad as, you know, she does. And so what ends up happening is that Brainiac is like, you know, I'm going to do the same thing that I did to your birth planet, to your adopted planet. But anyway, you know, this is an important scene because this just shows how Clark feels about his dad and just some of the stuff that he remembers. Like when he was a kid, he hit a ball and it flew across Smallville. It took him a couple of days to find it, or how he outran a truck in these shoes right here. And so he just kept it. So Clark, he, you know, makes him a little horseshoe with his eye lasers and is like, world's greatest dad, you know? And it's just, I don't know, there's a lot of heartfelt stuff in this, like stuff you just don't really get in comics these days. Geoff Johns really understands Superman and his nature and his outsiderness. You know, I think that's why I'm starting to be drawn to Superman, is because, you know, when you're an outsider, you know, you generally gravitate towards those things that are outsiders. Like I really, really liked Spider-Man at first, but then he became really cool Spider-Man, and, you know, and just always down on his luck. And it's just like, you can only like kick a guy so many times, like from greatness, before he's not an outsider. Like he's not an outsider. He's too cool for an outsider. So anyway, he decides he's going to take the fight to Brainiac. And he, you know, he meets Brainiac. I'm going to skip a couple pages. This is actually the true cover of Superman Brainiac right here. That's the one that you're going to find on the shelves. But anyway, he gets captured by Brainiac, and they're looking over him, trying to look at his DNA and all this stuff. And Brainiac's pretty much like, finally, you know, you have brought yourself to me. You are the last piece of Krypton. That was all I wanted. And like, just this whole page. Like I said, when you're a good storyteller visually, Gary Frank is an amazing visual storyteller. I prefer the way his Superman looks. And just this whole page, you know, just the reaction. He sees Brainiac hatching from what he calls his bioshell. And he's hatching, and he thinks Brainiac's a little dude. But he's like, hello, Brainy. He doesn't even finish his sentence. The shadow on him tells you that Brainiac's probably like, okay, we can say Superman's probably like 6'1", maybe 6'3", depending on who draws him. We can see that Brainiac's clearly about 7 foot to like 7'5" or something like that. And you know, he's just handling Superman, and he's calling him out the whole time. Like, I'll just read you this page, because all of Brainiac's lines are good. At last, Kryptonian, you belong to me now. I don't know how many other shrunken cities you have strung up here, but no one belongs to you. They do. It's so cool, man. There's just a lot of good lines from Brainiac. Just so many good lines. Like this one here. I remain unimpressed, Kryptonian. Your intellect seems deficient, and your biosuit appears to serve no purpose. And Superman's like, this is a symbol of my father and everything. And he's trying to like wail on him and stuff, and it's doing nothing to Brainiac. And he's just like, what did you hope to accomplish here, Kryptonian? Because you have accomplished very little for yourself. I love it. I love it so much. And he's just like, you know what? I scanned your brain, so I'm going to take something from you. I know that you have a cousin. She's on Earth. I'm going to take the Earth. Because that's what he does. He's like a collector. He goes around, he collects things. And even this line, because it deals with like race, and it deals with, it just deals with a bunch of stuff. Like here. I know I keep on giving you Brainiac dialogue, but it's just so good. It's like, you are a being born of amalgam of worlds, as am I. I am connected to every living being in my bioshell, but I would never consider myself anything but Koluan. I would never betray my race as you have. And so Superman has a manly line of dialogue right here where it says, inflicting pain on others doesn't seem to bother you. It bothers me, usually, after he bites his little spinal piece off of his head because he was hooked up to a line for so long. Anyway, you know, we get to, he discovers that the other guys are trapped and they're still alive inside of these jars and stuff. So Brainiac is just creeping up on them, talking trash to them. And Superman eventually finds the rest of the other little glass cities and all that stuff. And Brainiac comes up again with that fire, you know, that unexpected heat. They call you Superman. Why would they call you that when you are not a man at all? And super? There is nothing super about you. I keep laughing because it's so good. It's so good. This is how villains are supposed to talk. This is how villains are supposed to behave. They're supposed to underestimate their hero at every turn. Like, look, I'm so much smarter than you. I'm so much better than you. There's nothing you can do to stop me. And I'm going to keep telling you. And this is my favorite. My favorite of the whole thing. Every time I cite how villains should talk, I always tell people about this. Your cousin's actions are futile. She will be incinerated along with Earth. We'll see. No. I will see. You will die, Earthman. He disrespected him. Because first he was saying, you're Kryptonian. Then he's like, no, you're not Kryptonian. You can't be Kryptonian. You're too weak. You're too stupid to be Kryptonian. You're not super. You're not a man. So what are you? And he basically just said, you know what? You're an Earthman. You're not heroic. You're not strong. You're not anything to aspire to. You are just a being of Earth. You have nothing that I need to fear. That's literally how he has downgraded him this whole time. And what he was talking about was the Earth will be incinerated, was he decided to fire a missile into the sun. And basically it would turn it into a supernova, which would destroy the Earth. So what he does is he takes a city from that place, studies the people in there like they're, you know, pets and all that stuff. Or, you know, like how people keep the murder wasps on a little thing. Well, he has that. He keeps them like that. And he just studies them in there. And then he says they'll live on inside of me as pieces of data. So he's gonna blow up the Earth with a supernova. So anyway, Kara decides she's gonna leave Earth and try to fly and stop the missile from hitting the sun. But what happens is Brainiac has another plan. He goes after Ma and Pa Kent. But at the same time, Superman's like, man, I got the city of Kandor. I'm going to like make them whole again, which leads into the new Krypton storyline. So Supergirl, she succeeds. She throws the rocket into space. However, Jonathan Kent, Pa Kent, he suffers a heart attack. This is one of the telltale signs of a heart attack when somebody grabs their, well, as for men, men grab their arm. They don't clutch their chest, but they grab their arm when they're having a heart attack, and then they start clutching their chest. So Superman doesn't hear it because he's so enamored that he's about to experience Kryptonian culture for the first time. So his mom is like, Clark, because, you know, there's certain people that Superman is just attuned to. He can hear their heartbeats. He can hear their voice every time, but he's just in awe about what's happening in front of him. His mom's like, Clark, and he doesn't hear it, but then he doesn't hear his dad's heartbeat anymore. And so this just image is so powerful of him flying through icebergs, flying through the Arctic from the Fortress of Solitude just to get back, only it's too late. He gets there and his dad's dead. And then this, I always get feelings when I read this because it's so good. It doesn't even have any words. It's the funeral, and yeah, just this. And I don't even want to spoil this, but I will just show the last page. It's just so powerful. It's so evocative right there. Basically what happens is he goes back to the farm, and he goes through that treasure chest, and he sees that horseshoe that his dad left out, which had the world's greatest dad, and he just wrecked. Like, it's hard not to, like I said, when you're somebody whose parent has died too, it's hard not to feel that same way. Like, everything makes you feel sad. Like, when I found out my dad died, everything made me sad. I looked at the wall and I was like, my dad used to lean on the wall. You know, I was listening to this one song on the radio. It was just like a little piano thing. I was like, man, my dad used to listen to music. You know, everything makes you sad. And you have so many emotions and you're racked with so much pain. You don't know what to do. So all you can do is just literally just curl up and cry. You just get your emotions out, but you don't ever get over it. It just, the emotion always comes up. And so I feel like reading that comic and seeing that issue, it really helped me get over it. Not over it, but it helped me get through it. I wish I would have had it when my dad actually died, because then I could have something to relate to. All I had was Dragon Ball, you know? That was all I had. But if I had this, I could accurately put into, like, I could show somebody when they're like, hey, you want to talk about it? Like, yeah, this is how I feel, man. Like, my dad was the greatest dad ever of all time in my whole, I mean, I don't know. That's an opinion-based statement, but he was my dad. I can't vouch for anybody else's dad. But, you know, if I could have some more time with my dad, or give him a world's greatest dad shirt or whatever, you know, because there's a lot of stuff in here that points to his relationship with his dad. I glanced over a lot of it. He gives his dad an interlac hat, which interlac is like the international language of space and stuff, and it's from the future. So, you know, like, he gives his dad a hat, and he's like, well, I reckon I'll be the only guy with a hat from the future on my head walking around, you know. And it's just good. I love when stories tell you a good father-son story, because we don't really have fathers in comics that are good. They're usually evil, you know, or they lose pieces of their soul. They don't really just tell their sons, hey, man, you don't do this. Walking Dead started off that way, but then Rick started losing pieces of his soul, and he's like, no, I'm going to expose him to violence and gore, because this is a new world. But Paul Kent was literally just like, no, this is how you treat people. This is what you do. A real man stands up for the people he cares about. And we don't really have that in comics, really. You just kind of have, like, dad dies, but, you know, we don't know why his death was important or impactful to the character. We just know he's dead, you know. But Paul Kent is very fleshed out, just like Uncle Ben in death. I think in death, Uncle Ben's more fleshed out than he was as a living character. But anyway, that's the video. Look, guys, let me know if you want me to do anything else, because I really like this book. I can go into The Last Son of Krypton, which it's good in its own right, because it was written by Richard Donner, who directed the first Superman movie and parts of the second one before they fired him. And that apparently was the story that he wanted to go with. The Last Son of Krypton one, the front one. But I think the art's a little bit weird in there, so is like the panel layout. But anyway, that's the video. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Let's talk about this, because, you know, we're all in this together. We're all going through coronavirus. We ain't got nothing better to do. Why not catch up on some of these classic gems of comics, you know, when heroes were heroes, manly and tough and strong, big. But anyway, if you already are subscribed to the channel, make sure you click that little bell notification icon so you can know everything as soon as I post it. And you probably get a community tab thing or something like that. Yeah, so thank you guys for watching, and I will see y'all next time. Peace out.